strategy may be implemented here as McCaskill, Barnhill side by side for second.
Happen to notice last time through, a car on the right-hand side of your screen, the 14 of Jarrett Fryer had a little bit of damage on the right rear bodywork of that car. Doesn't appear to be causing a problem on that right rear tire, but Fryer definitely does appear to have a sliver of bodywork that is flapping in the South Carolina breeze down the main straightaway, just behind that of Bobby McCarty in the 6, Brendan Butterbean Queen in the 03, with Deke McCaskill holding down the battle for third on back.
Oh, and even behind this battle, they are 3 wide or were for a second as Kelly got shoved up the field. You could see Connor Hall kind of in the middle of that sandwich as well. 94 laps to go. And boy, I mean, this looks like we're at 5 to go here, Eric.
And how about Butterbean Queen in that 03 car for Lee Pulliam Performance? He fell back to about 8th. He's trying to get the lead from Minnie Tyrell on the main straightaway.
And he's going to be able to do it off of turn 2, back to the lead. 2 leaders in this race have been Brendan Butterbean Queen and Minnie Tyrell. And if Queen is on a surge right here, again, he's still only about a car length or so back from several of these drivers who are directly in front of him who don't want to go a lap down. Barnhill and McCaskill now trying to pounce on Minnie Tyrell for second. Millington is back in the mix. We have seen so many comers and goers in just 34 laps.
It appears as though that if you're ready to try to make some hay on the field, you have to go to the right lane, the top lane, in order to try to rocket your way around the outside of the rest of the competition. That's going to get harder as the night unfolds. These drivers know that. McCaskill now leading the freight train up top of the 08 in front of Millington in the 15, while Barnhill has solidified himself as the 3rd car on the bottom, currently trying to get back up to 3rd with Butterbean on the back bumper of the tail end of the pack.
They're side by side, and they are almost side by side with some of those cars that may be going a lap down as Brendan Butterbean Queen is now starting to put down some traffic. Ryan Wilson, who is his first time at the Florence Motor Speedway, and talked about how much film he's kind of watched to be prepared for this race, may be in danger of going a lap down. McCarty and Millington side by side, but you could see the traffic that is holding up your race leader directly in front of Brendan Butterbean Queen, who now has his hands full with Minnie Tyrell for the race lead.
And we're about 4 laps away from the competition caution, so the last thing that this pack of cars wants to see in front of Brendan Butterbean Queen is that 03 get up to and pass them. They're 3 wide in front of the race leader, Glenski in the 28, right in the middle. Jacob Hefner inside, Brandon Pearson, the 2 on the outside, and they settle it out in turn 3.
Wilson got close, didn't he, to going over there off of the exit of turn number 2, and it's allowed the leaders to pull up to the back of them. Barnhill still challenging Tyrell for second, and so much jockeying for position all around this one concentrated spot. Just a couple of laps, mind you, before the competition caution.
I stand corrected. Brandon Pierce is up in 18th spot, the other white number 2. You said it there. Ryan Wilson is now on the verge of potentially being the last car on the lead lap as Jacob Hefner continues to try to hold the pretty wheel down low on the inside. That battle continues with the leaders coming off of turn 2. It is the 03 of Queen, the 81 of Tyrell up top, Barnhill in the 5 behind him. 3 cars under a blanket for the top spot off 4.
If Queen can get clear, can he lap somebody just before this competition caution goes out? As Wilson side by side, they make contact with Jacob Hefner. Again, this is an opportunity for Queen to try to take out some competition that may have much better tires than what they've been doing up front.
Who wants to be the control car at that competition yellow? It is Tyrell trying to work the outside. Queen will hit the line as the Volt Battery caution waves for the 40-lap consecutive run that took place from the drop of the green flag. And it is Brendan Queen who cycled his way back up to the front of the pack after leading lap 1, who leads us at the conclusion of lap number 40. Wow, what a start.
Well, we couldn't take a breath there for 40 laps.
Oh, that's good stuff. All 32 cars still on the lead lap. And this will provide an opportunity to point out that Jacob Hefner, who actually was able to lay claim to one of the contingency awards that is up for grabs on a weekly basis, Hefner took home the Crossroads Harley-Davidson Hard Charger Award for doing what he's doing right now back at Southern National Motorsports Park. So Hefner in that Carroll Speed Shop number 95, perhaps trying to play this strategy a bit to perfection. But 32 cars is a lot to get through in only 85 laps time.
And for more on Mini Tyrell and that number 81 team and what they have going on this weekend, we'll toss it down to James Pike.
Plenty going on in the Mini Tyrell camp over the course of the weekend. He's got a special guest with him this evening, his friend Jeffrey, who got connected to the team through the McLeod Health Foundation here in Florence, South Carolina, making his first ever attendance at a stock car race here. He's got sickle cell anemia, and Minnie and crew decided to invite him out to enjoy a life at the racetrack and a day here at Florence. So he got to meet up with all the crew, got to meet up with the whole team, got to see everything up close and personal. So far as Minnie's car goes, these conditions are playing into what he wanted. When I talked to him earlier this afternoon, he said, I'd rather have a track that's grippy. I'd rather have a track that's more like South Boston or Florence, where you don't necessarily have to worry about tire wear as much, and you can just go. That leans more into his driving style, and who knows, if it stays this way throughout the rest of these 125 laps, we may see Mini Tyrell pick up his second career win in the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour.
Thank you, James. And I know talking to Minnie throughout the week, it's amazing what his family is doing. Again, one of the amenities of being a touring 12 driver here in the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour is getting 4 general admission tickets. And we know his philanthropic efforts and how much he does for charity, but amazing to see him bring this family out to enjoy a night at the racetrack and always trying to do something a little bit more is Mini Tyrell. And great to see him do that, but also great to see him running in the second spot doing it.
Yeah, and so far we have seen just some incredible racing and storylines that pretty much litter the field all the way throughout. Now, being that we are here in South Carolina, I want to take a moment and spotlight a young driver who's relatively new to this type of competition for good reason. This driver hails from, this is number 67 of Cameron Boland, who is currently running in the 20th position on the racetrack. It's a family-owned operation, is that of Cameron Boland, but this is a bit of a hometown race for this youngster. And he was telling us a story, Blake, as you got a chance to catch up with him yesterday. They picked up a relatively new sponsor at the beginning of this season back in his hometown of Sharon, South Carolina. And you see Boland there on your screen. He's got several supporters. Well, the folks at the Sharon Grill in Sharon, South Carolina committed to not only support this young driver, but also to host watch parties for the cars races all season long. The owner, David, bought 2 subscriptions to FloRacing, one that he could have at home and one for the restaurant. Well, it was so popular at Southern National, they had to go out and buy a bigger TV for tonight's race. And they've got a packed house there at the Sharon Grill cheering on young Cameron Boland, one of the drivers who, we talk about agendas, they're taking it about 3 races at a time. He already knows he's going to have to miss 1 race because he's graduating high school this year.
Yeah, apparently that was non-negotiable with Grandma to be able to miss high school graduation. So won't be out with Langley, but otherwise plans to run the entire season. In the car just behind him, you can see the bright neon orange. They have a watch party going on as well. Two Burrows Brewery in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. The car of Dylan Wilson, the Touring 12 driver. Somebody else that actually had an interesting announcement earlier this week that he has his own beer. Yes, his own beer. It's called Neon Lager. Very fitting if you're looking at his race car right now. And that is being released. You can get it on tap at Two Burrows. And also the cans, which are racing-inspired cans. They look awesome. Those will be released Cinco de Mayo, which is when we go to Ace. So if Wilson is running up front, you can guarantee there will be plenty of Neon Lager to go around.
Yeah, you got to love all this stuff. And thanks to everyone who's out there watching along on FloRacing, especially in those areas. I think Dooley's is having a watch party in Wilkesboro tonight for that of Dylan Wilson. And I can bet that I will be at that hauler trying to test out that Neon Lager when the night is over. However, not such a good night so far for the 8F of Tate Fogelman. If that name sounds familiar for longtime late model stock competitors, his father, Jay, a longtime competitor, what was then the Pro Cup Series. Blake, first time they had the choose cone on the racetrack. And our race leader, Brendan Queen, picked the bottom. Mini Tyrell the top side, and this is going to re-rack the fields for this 85-lap run to the checkers. And if we stay green, we'll see yet another caution in 40 laps time.
I just hope we see the same racing we saw in those opening 40 laps, but now we kind of get to see the tail end of it. How many cars that have we haven't really mentioned a whole lot tonight, been running around the 15th or 20th spot, are going to be able to make their way to the front through the KRC Power Steering restart zone, and we are back underway here at Florence. Mini Tyrell not wasting a beat here as he gets by Brendan Butterbean Queen, as he will once again resume the race lead. They go side by side for third right now. Barnhill and Bobby McCarty right now for the back step of the podium.
Boy, if Vinny Tyrell did not clip a few blades of grass off of 2 a lap ago, he came about as close as you could without doing so. He cements the lead. McCarty in his second race for the RNS Cars factory, I would say house car, if you will, driving for that team now as a 3-time champion in third, while Brian Barnhill in the 5 battles with Southern National Motorsports Park winner Deke McCaskill to see who will settle 4th and 5th off 2.
We talk about how much experience has played out. You could see it right there with Bobby McCarty, Deke McCaskill, 2 drivers who have been around this series for a very long time. And Bobby McCarty not content to ride around in third as he tries to look forward to second. But you see 2 drivers of which have at least 10 wins in this series, the number 6 and the 08 out here. And, well, the one driver that's not out here that has that many wins is, well, Josh Berry.
Quick update from James Pike trackside. We saw the 8F of Tate Fogelman down in the pit lane. They were making a track bar adjustment. We talked about how the handling characteristics from practice yesterday to this race here tonight have changed so much. Evidently, that team wanted to get an adjustment in on that car to that caution. Fogelman runs 29th as they're trying to help that car get a little bit more turn in the middle as the battle for second rages on the main straightaway.
Yes, it does. Brendan Butterbean Queen down to the bottom. McCarty continuing his march up through the field to try and get up to the top spot. He had a great story this week about, he's been in racing for 25 years, and he received a Facebook message that he posted on social media a little bit earlier about a fan that he met at North Wilkesboro. Of course, this young fan met many of drivers there at North Wilkesboro Speedway, but Bobby went back, gave him his hat, signed his hat, and now the father of that fan wanted to reach out to him earlier this week and said how much that means to him, his family, and that kid cannot play fake race cars or ride a bike without wearing that hat. He has to have it on. And for more on Bobby McCarty, we go downstairs to James Pike.
Yeah, Blake, talked to Bobby McCarty earlier this afternoon, and he said biggest thing was that he really struggled to save tires here, which he thought was weird because he doesn't have a problem with it at Hickory, doesn't have a problem with it at Southern National. But the biggest thing he told me, I'd rather be on the bottom, but ultimately I'm going to take what the car gives me. If it handles better on the top side of the racetrack, I'll go there instead. If it handles better on the bottom, I'll go there. But I want the car to dictate where I run on the racetrack.
Thank you, James, and he is doing that to perfection here as he runs in the 4th spot. And this is a name, I know he started in 11th, but I'm not surprised that nearly 50 laps into this one, we are talking about this driver, and that is that number 8 Bass Pro Shop Chevrolet of Carson Quapple. You could throw him up into the mix as he's on the inside of Bobby McCarty, side by side, looking for 4th, and perhaps if he can get alongside Barnhill into turn number 1, maybe looking for 3rd, almost 3 wide for 3rd.
Barnhill is someone who knows this racetrack very, very well in that blue and white number 5, and you can see he's starting to flirt with even that 3rd lane a little bit. Up in 3 and 4, McCarty still thinking about sticking the nose of that 6 in the middle, while Carson Quapple continues to rim ride the bottom of the racetrack in car 8. Now Barnhill utilizing that 3rd lane to a little bit of perfection here as he pulls up alongside Queen for 2nd.
Barnhill really slid that car off in turn 2, and those are kind of those marks and moments throughout the race where you lose your back end just a little bit, and how much that kind of heats up the rear tires, how much that does not pay off for you later. So see if Barnhill can collect it back. He is able to do it for 2nd. They're still nearly 3 wide for 3rd between McCarty, Queen, and Quapple. And then how about just out of the frame, the guy we haven't talked about too much tonight, Connor Jones, nearly in the top 5.
Connor Jones made several headlines a couple of weeks ago, competing in a big late model stock race at New River All-American Speedway, where he vocalized his distaste for tracks where sometimes you have to maintain your equipment. We talked about how the box score looked at the South Carolina 400 last November. He charged to the front, led over a quarter of the race, but faded to 22nd spot late. I say we need to tip our cap to this driver, the number 44, that currently tails this battle just outside the top 5 and 6. It appears as though he's applying the lessons learned, and he is staying right with the lead pack as Quapple, McCarty, and Queen stay all knotted up for 3rd on back.
Jones certainly somebody that we're going to have to watch towards the tail end of this race. You can see Bobby McCarty there off the top side. Car number 6 continuing to hold Carson Quapple at bay in a battle that's lasted about the last 5 laps or so, side by side. Minnie Tyrell still your race leader up front, but last couple of laps, Barnhill has started to run him down a little bit, and a little bit of a difference from what we saw last run, I guess I should say, where lap traffic is not quite backing up to the leaders as much as we saw in that first run with 69 to go.
And we may continue to see a bit of a rubber band effect in terms of comers and goers. We touched on the highlight before we went to green.